Hey, this is Clay and Sonia. We're so glad you're joining us today. We want to talk a little bit about your emotional bank account. Everybody in a relationship has an emotional bank account. And the difference between happy couples and unhappy couples is how they manage those emotional bank accounts, whether they're making deposits or they're making withdrawals.
Because it's important to have this balance in there. We're all human and we're not going to always be there. We're going to always not be perfect. But to really be aware of how important it is to invest in your relationship. Because a zero balance is going to cause trouble, just like your bank account. But a negative balance is going to even be worse. And that's going to cause a lot of issues.
We want to make sure that there's many more deposits into your lover's bank account than the withdrawals with that too. Because when that happens, you feel safe and relaxed with each other. When that's happening, they feel more connected and that you really care. But that's sometimes a challenging thing when we get busy with life and other stuff enters into the picture. We can kind of lose track about and a lot of times forget very easily about making those deposits. So it's really important to make those intentional. And I want to suggest that you try to make them daily. We try to do that with each other on a daily basis. Sometimes little things, sometimes things are a little bit bigger, but making it a point to make more deposits than you do withdrawals.
So if you do get a negative balance or get low in your balance, a lot of things can happen. When you do have these times that are, when one person withdraws and can't be available, even a fight, flight, or freeze situation, then you feel insecure. The other person feels like, oh my gosh, what's happening? and you might question each other's intentions of like, well, why are you doing that? And why are you doing this? And that type of thing. And you feel disconnected or really lonely in the situation. And you become concerned and worried about, oh my gosh, what's happening? What's happening with our relationship? Which really doesn't set you up. Where if you can just give those deposits on a regular basis, then you can recover easily.
One other thing about withdrawals is very important to make sure you're aware of why it's so important to make those deposits. A lot of times in the couples we work with, if somebody comes along and they have an affair, it's usually because when we've examined and talked to them long enough, what we see is that they haven't had any deposits in a really, really long time. And then somebody else comes along and starts making deposits. And that sets them up for problems in the relationship or maybe having an affair, et cetera, with that too. So we want to make sure, again, that you've got making more deposits than you do withdrawals with it. So what are some deposits you can make?
So our favorite deposit to make is appreciation, because seeing what your partner is doing right is amazing. And oftentimes we think about these things, but we don't say them. So being appreciative of things like, oh, you did the dishes when it wasn't even your turn to do the dishes is a great to say thank you. But even when they do the dishes and it's their turn to do the dishes, then say thank you for that. It's also good to say a character quality like, I love and appreciate how thoughtful you were to that person when I saw you do that. And so following it up with this specific answer is amazing.
Now, why ask for that? Well, in particular, you want to really take a look at whatever you're focused on, you're going to get more of. If you focus on what your partner's not doing right, or et cetera, and you're voicing that all the time, guess what? That's a withdrawal. Plus, it's painful. So giving them appreciations and putting positive things, into their emotional bank changes the whole picture with that, because that negativity dissipates.
So another deposit is just doing nice things for each other. These caring behaviors. When you just
I like those.
Clay likes the caring behaviors. He just likes for people to fix him meals and to bring him iced tea and to clean up. And he just really feels love and seen. The key is with caring behaviors is to know what it is that your partner loves. Like if he did all those things for me, I would be like, I can get my own tea. And I certainly don't need you to clean up for me. But it's important to have these conversations and know what really does feel good to them.
So, and showing genuine interest is another one in their world. What is going on? When was the last time y'all went out on a date or went and had coffee and talked about what's actually happening in your world with each other? What's happening in your work world? What's going on with the kids, maybe? What are you wanting? What are your dreams? Kind of revisiting your vision for your relationship a little bit of what do we want to do? What do we want this year to look like? What are we wanting, the next couple of weeks to be like for us? And just getting real specific with that. But most importantly, it's the effort of getting into their world. We always expect everybody else to get into our world with it. And by the way, when we do that in a relationship, again, that's withdrawal. So a good deposit is getting into their mind, finding out what's going on in their world, being interested in it, being curious about it. What is going on in their world?
We often aren't curious, especially after you've been together for a while. We think we know everything about them, and we're not curious about what's going on, what's happening. And but we can learn a lot because you change every week. You're a different person, and kind of knowing, oh yeah, what would you think about this is a really great thing. Another key thing is physical affection. So just a hug. John Gottman suggests a 6-minute kiss. We like the 1-minute hug that really deepens the physical attention.
And it if you hug for a whole minute, which by the way will feel like forever when you do it. With the average person hugs, if they like the person, 9 seconds. So a good 1-minute hug, what it does, it releases oxytocin in your brain, which is the bonding chemical, like when gals have a baby. And so you can experience that bonding chemically, both of you at the same time with that too. Now, want to be careful here to just emphasize one other thing is making sure that you're doing this kind of affection regularly and not having strings to go along with it. If you're just wanting sex, and that can be girls or guys, it doesn't have to be, one or the other dominating there. But if that's what you're after here, the way to make that your partner more willing to go to that space is to increase your deposits with that affection and those hugs and kisses and holding each other's hand when you go on a walk or whatever it might be. Adding that non-sexual affection will heighten your partner's willingness to have sex with you and connect in that way.
So plan a quality time with each other where you don't focus on anything else. It's just kind of like, and this can be a date night away from home. It can also just be time at home where like, okay, let's go out on the porch and drink our coffee and have some time together. But just that quality time makes your partner know that they are important to you. And that you like to be with them and having fun. I think that fun is an important thing.
Fun and adventure really go together with it. Well, just yesterday we went on, decided to go to a new place. We found a nature trail we'd never been on and went on a hike together. And we got done and stumbled into a cool restaurant and they had a nice patio. And so we went and had lunch and just made it fun, just spending that extra time together. Another deposit is to give them a gift. Now, I want to qualify this because from our own experience, I used to love to bring Sonia flowers in the early part of our marriage. We've been together 43 years this year, by the way. It took me probably 20 years to figure out that she was okay with flowers, but she was really irritated most of the time when I did that because I was spending the money. She would have much rather had me spend more time with her or do other things. So in your giving a gift, make sure that you're giving what they want instead of what you think you should be doing or what you want instead, because that makes the difference. Because if it's about them and what they're wanting, then that is a true deposit into their emotional bank account.
Another one is just support your partner emotionally. A lot of times if they're having an issue or something, we feel like we have to fix the problem. And really, we don't have to fix the problem. Nope. Just supporting them emotionally, listening to them, allowing them to have their feelings, validating them, and being empathetic is a huge way to deposit into their account.
Everybody likes to be listened to. Everybody likes to be validated. Everybody likes to be empathized with. So if you're intentional about that with your partner, it changes the whole picture of what's going on in your relationship. And most importantly, every time you do that, you're making those deposits. Now, the question always arises with that, though. Well, what if we're talking about, and he or he's talking about something that I don't agree with? Okay, You know what? It doesn't matter whether you agree with it or not. The goal here is to make deposits, not to be right. And a lot of couples, they do their whole relationship based on being right first and then working on the relationship as kind of an afterthought. So really think about that, because we all have an ego and we all kind of go to those places at times. But looking at, okay, what can I put in here? What can I do for you when I spend time with you? What am I doing? And can I really listen to what you're saying, with an intent of understanding when I do that? Because that makes all the difference in the world.
So hopefully we've given you some ideas on keeping that emotional bank account of your relationship healthy and thriving. You maybe don't want to start all these things. Just pick one thing and make it a habit in your life.
But remember, making more deposits will determine how happy you are versus the withdrawals you take. And your goal making your goal to make more deposits and less withdrawals. That makes the relationship work. So have a nice day. Thanks for spending some time with us.